today, here's why you're going to like the lesson. You already pretty much know it, because tomorrow we're going to go into the real lesson. I'm just making sure you know this before we go into tomorrow's lesson. All right, they're going to give us a two-step equation. Our goal is going to be to get x all by itself. We've already done some of this. That's why you're going to like today, because you've already got experience. This is not really new. So, put over here, big star. Your goal is to get x all by itself. All right, and let's talk about how we do that. We do that by applying the rule of opposites, or some teachers will call it the rule of inverses. I don't really like calling it the rule of inverses, because in math, inverse is a certain type of equation you're going to learn about next year in algebra. Are you with me? So Murphree likes to call it the rule of opposites, because to me, that's a whole different ballgame. Are you with it? Maybe. So what is the opposite of addition?
Subtraction.
Well, that's hard. What's the opposite of subtraction?
Addition.
So I'm going to put a double arrow on that. Those two are the opposites of each other. Yeah, what? What's the opposite of multiply?
Divide.
And what's the opposite of divide?
Multiply.
Any questions so far? So to get x by itself, we've got to apply the opposite rule. I'll show you what I mean in just a second. So let's start with something easy. 2x minus 10 equals 30. Okay, the first thing I like kids to do is draw a line down the equal sign. That cuts the equation into the left side and the right side. What side is x on?
The left.
The left. Y'all agree it's over here? What numbers are over here with it?
Negative 10.
Negative 10 and 2. We need to get rid of both of those numbers. Are you with it? Now, here's a rule. Always put a star by this. Get rid of addition or subtraction first. All right, any questions? Any questions?
No, sir.
Any questions? Any questions?
What do we do next?
That's not a question that I want. I'm waiting on one question. Any questions?
Do you subtract the negative from the positive?
No.
Why?
Why what?
Why do we always get rid of adding or subtracting first?
Good. You should be wondering, okay, why do I have to get rid of the addition or subtraction first? Why can't we get rid of the multiplying by 2 first? Well, let me explain it. Let's take something simple. 3 times 2 plus 1. Let's figure out what 3 times 2 plus 1 is. What do I have to do first here? Do I multiply first or do I add first?
Multiply.
Y'all agree we need to multiply 3 times 2 first? Why?
PEMDAS.
What?
PEMDAS.
Say it louder.
PEMDAS.
PEMDAS. That is what we call the rule or the order of operations. You have to follow that rule when you're finding out what something equals. Are you with me? Because you're about to give me the answer here. What's the answer, by the way?
7.
7. Y'all agree? Hello? Okay. So, you had to do multiply first because in PEMDAS we do parentheses, exponents. There's neither one of those. So the first thing we have to do is multiply or divide. So we've got to do that first, which is 6. Then we got to add the 1 to get our final answer of 7. Y'all agree? According to PEMDAS. Now I got a question. Solving an equation is really that expression, but I take out one number and replace it with the letter X.
So you're just trying to find the number that.
So, here's my question. Why do we have to get rid of the addition or subtraction first in this problem?
Because we don't know what x is, so we have to subtract because to get the x so we can multiply.
Why? You're right, though.
So we can get the right answer and get
Yeah, but why? But I agree with everything you said, but you just haven't told me why yet. And why is the most important part of math, kids. Because once you understand why you have to do something, then it makes total sense and you won't forget it. Does that make sense? If you're just trying to memorize crap, you forget crap you memorize. But when you understand why something works, you never forget that. Well, I'll give you a hint. If you're doing an expression, we follow PEMDAS that direction. Left to right. This is called solving equations. They give us the answer, and we have to work it right to left or backwards. We're going to do PEMDAS backwards to unravel it to see what number that should have been. Are you with me? So when you're doing expressions, you go left to right. When you're doing equations, you go right to left. And guess what the first two things are going this direction?
Subtraction.
Addition and
Subtraction.
do you now see why that is a rule? Should make sense because we're working the equation backwards. So, very good. All right, so which number do I need to get rid of first? The times 2 or the minus 10? Well, how do I get rid of minus 10? According to this, the opposite is add. Suma, 10. What's 30 plus 10? 40. And bring down the 2x.
We have to divide because
Now we got to get rid of the 2. What is the 2 doing?
multiply.
Multiplying. What's the opposite of multiplying? You need to divide by 2. And your equation is done. We now have x all by itself. What number does x have to equal?
20.
20. Questions? And the reason is we're working equations go right to left. I'll say most of the time. Because there's always a certain rule in math that we gotta. Questions so far? Still notes? X divided by -3 plus 9 equals 4. Let's draw our line. What side of the equation is x on?
Right.
The right side this time. All right, what are we going to get rid of first? The divided by -3 or the plus 9?
Plus 9.
The plus 9, because it's adding. Get rid of adding or subtracting first. Suma or menos primero. Comprende? Okay. So how do I get rid of plus 9?
Minus 9.
Minus 9. What's 4 minus 9?
-5.
-5. And that's gone. That's 0. Bring down the x divided by -3. And how do we get rid of division?
Multiply.
So since they're dividing by -3, we need to multiply by -3. I'm going to use parentheses. Parentheses means multiply.
15.
Multiply by -3. What's -3 times -5?
15.
15. Positive or negative? Positive 15. These cancel out. -3 divided by -3 turns out to be 1x. 1x is the exact same thing as x, all by itself. Okay, questions? All right, I think you're going to like today's homework because it's not hard if you can understand the basic concepts of solving a pretty simple two-step equation.